Next guests, they're going to be joining us, both of them, and they have quite the extensive anime credentials. And one of them is not from Australia. That's what I've learned. So please give it up for Christpher Bevins and Rachel Robinson.
Yeah!
Thanks for joining us, guys. Been waiting all morning for you. Well, these guys haven't. I don't know about me, but we're awake now, sort of. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna, whoever puts up their hand first, we're gonna start with that.
You guys got like a Twitter or anything? Real quick?
Yes, Voice of Bevins, B-E-V-I-N-S.
His is easy, mine is silly because I was trying to be cute.
Wait, what's Bevins? How do you spell that?
B-E-V-I-N-S.
And what's your name?
Mine is larynx, L-A-R-Y-N-X,
That's awesome.
underscore links, L-Y-N-X.
How do you spell larynx again? I'm sorry.
L-A-R-Y-N-X, I think.
Sorry, I got a
Still
medical.
early for
Sorry, I
me.
got a medical marijuana card too. So.
Oh, really? Can I use this one?
What? So larynx?
Larynx, underscore links, L-Y-N-X.
Thank you.
Anybody want to start? Over here?
Okay, I gotta ask. The Australian accent.
What about it?
Was that something that you were told to do? Was that your decision to do, or what?
It was 100% their decision. It was asked for in the audition, and I went and did it, and we ended up going with it. And we had an Australian in the room for quality control the entire time. But I'm not from Australia, but I had a lot of people fool with it. Of course, a few other people said that I sounded just like Steve Irwin, but I was like, that's probably the only Australian you know. But yeah, no, it was not my choice, but I'm glad it was a choice they made. Yeah.
Thank you.
Just moving forward, make sure you state your name and your institution. So,
Joe Cirillo, GameAccess.net. Thank you.
right here in the front.
Zach, JMZMPodtrash.com. What's the most difficult project that either of you have worked on, like the one that has caused you the most stress that you wish you had just never even
Oh, I'm working mostly as a voice director, so there are lots that are very, very, very challenging, mostly due to the subject matter. Although trying to name one is hard off the top of my head right now. I'm sure I could think of something later. Beck Mongolian Chop Squad was a huge undertaking. Not in a oh my god I wish I didn't sort of way, in a oh my god what have I done, this better turn out good sort of way. Just because it was a massive, massive show with a lot of music. It's a rock and roll show about a rock and roll band. So there was a lot of music that needed to be adapted. There were tons and tons of characters. So really the way I tackled that challenge was piecing it out. I brought in Taliesin Jaffe to co-direct with me from California. He's a voice director of Hellsing and Read or Die, a bunch of other really cool things. Street Fighter 4 video game. I brought him out to Texas and let him basically just crash on couches for 9 months while we directed the show together, and then also brought in Mike McFarland, one of our other voice directors, just to be the music producer and let him handle all of the music adaptation, rewriting the lyrics as necessary and recording all the actors on singing, because I could tell, my musical ability is not that great. I can tell you if it's good or not, but I can't tell you how to fix it. I mean, that's wrong. Great, how do I do it right? I don't know.
I don't really have anything that I would say I wish I hadn't done, but it's hard for me to sustain screaming for a really long time, and a lot of those fighting games and military games require that, and this is sort of where my voice lives, so it's hard for me to scream for any length of time. I'm very lucky in that if I have to do any screaming, they'll usually let me reserve it for the end of the session, so that I don't completely destroy my voice. If anybody has seen Hellsing Ultimate, I play Zoran Blitz, the Nazi vampire. She screams a lot, and she screams in German too, so that was fun. I like to work, so I never say there's anything like, oh God, I would never do that again, but anything that's putting that amount of stress on my voice for that amount of time is but hey, I still like to work. So.
what would be the best project that you guys were, like the one that would be the most fulfilling, that you're the most proud of, that you're like, man, this is awesome?
That's
Whether or
like
not- whether or not
picking
it
a
was,
favorite
you know,
kid.
Well, Beck is actually now number 2. That was my number 1 for the longest time. My baby, my absolute baby, is the one that I'm so happy to be able to pimp even harder now because it's Michiko and Hachin, which is currently airing on Toonami. It was my holy grail of a show. It was a show that I wanted as soon as it came out in Japan. I was like, I want this. And then Funimation didn't get the rights to it for several years. It kind of sat in rights development hell, I think, for like about 4 or 5 years. And when it finally came up and I was finally able to work on it, that was incredibly fulfilling. And it is, I think, one of the most special shows I've ever seen and fortunate to work on. And now it's finally getting the exposure it deserves too by being on Toonami on Saturdays.
Joe Cirillo, GamingSess.net. I gotta ask, what is the process for when you get a role? And is there any way that you, like, what would you typically do when you get a script and you read a script? What is it like to basically form, okay, this is how I'm gonna play this person? And is it difficult when you have to, let's say, either do a serial, which is like a television series, or you have to take the role again later on? How do you find that character again after a long period of not playing them?
Well, I can speak to that playing Fang because there's always, I mean, you know experience. These games take 3 years to produce.
Right.
I spent more time with Fang, obviously, on Final Fantasy 13. And it was probably another couple of years when I got the call, like, hey, you're coming back, for 1 hour. You find it. I mean, that's the thing. A lot of times, there's not necessarily, they'll be very, very specific in an audition side. And they'll say exactly what they want. Although sometimes they'll give like 1 full page of description and there'll be 2 actual lines to audition with that aren't necessarily even relevant to what you just read. With original animation, sometimes, they'll give a general description and sometimes you'll just pull something out. I haven't done a ton of that, so I wish I could say, yeah, there was a character, I don't know if anybody's seen Kaijudo, Rise of the Duel Masters. I played Magaria, an Empress of the Darkness from, I played a lot of villains, let's just get that way. And it was great because I basically just got to do this the entire time. So that wasn't a huge stretch for me. There was she had a part of her character was a lot of emotional manipulation. She's really mean. And, as far as finding that in me, I like to think I'm not a mean person. I really try not to be. So, oh gosh, she's really messing with me. You find it. And, if you're really lucky, you have fantastic writers and a great director. And the engineer, too. Everybody is your friend and everybody has to work together. I'm such a small fraction of that. I'm really only as good as everybody allows me to be. So.
Yeah, and as a director, what I find is helping work with an actor to create the character is part of the fun.
Yeah.
It's part of the mystique. Obviously we have an idea oftentimes what we want before we get started. We may have to say, accents, where this person should sound older, younger, deeper, higher, whatever. But it's a total give and take once you figure out who the right person for the role is, and then you work with them to find that. And then in the case where you're coming back a couple of years later to do something like, say, Hitalia is a show that we end up doing more of all the time now. Some of us, yes, we know our voices pretty well because we're at conventions and are constantly being asked to say something in our character's voice. But for the smaller countries, the people who are not in there all the time, we'll have reference lines. We'll actually we'll just play back some of what they did last time so that they can remember. And they just kind of talk along with the old version of themselves until they're in the zone.
I did not know that. Thank you.
In the back.
Louis Perry from the Anchor Geek Show. What video game franchise or animation franchise is your dream to work with or work on?
Marvel.
Oh, come on.
I mean, that's the easy answer.
Come on, Marvel, really?
Is it cliche?
Very.
Oh.
Why not DC?
No.
Well,
DC's dead to me. DC's dead to me.
Oh, please.
I've been a Marvel kid since 1986.
So wait, you're saying the Warner Brothers came to you right now and said, we want to do the new Joker?
Oh, I take their money. Don't get me
I'm
wrong.
gonna turn the work
Don't get me
down.
wrong.
That's what I'm talking about. We're gonna make it.
But dream
You want me
job.
to play Wonder Woman? I ain't gonna say no.
What about Hawker?
What's up?
What about Hawker?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, you want me to be a Flash, Green Lantern, whatever? Yeah, I'm down.
I mean, yeah, work is great, and some, iconic characters. Yeah, I'm not turning that down.
So it's not the money, it's that you guys like Marvel characters the most and you have a passion for them.
And we like
Since
strong men.
1986, I've been a hardcore Marvel Avengers Hawkeye fan.
My brother was a huge comic book collector, so
I know.
We can get you professional help.
I stopped reading DC when they stopped publishing stories about all the characters that I spent thousands of dollars on.
Oh.
New 52 is not for me.
What's your favorite comic book?
Right now? I'm so behind, but Saga.
you.
Hi, Neil, WILIAM&FM. Obviously, you two really enjoy what you're doing. First of all, I mean, did you ever imagine yourself in a job like this, in a career like this? And, were there any specific steps that you took to get there, or things just kind of
Oh, goodness.
moved in that direction?
I think there's only a handful of people who kind of fall into it, although everybody takes a different path. I had loved cartoons and mimicking things. I mean, I grew up watching people like Carol Burnett and Rich Little and June Foray and Lucille Ball and all these wonderful people. And I, had an ear for dialect very early, and this was something I thought, could I do this? And then I didn't really put it together that I could do it as a career until much later. So I thought, well, don't you have to go to school and do all this other stuff first? But yeah, I took very specific steps. I started doing research, and I started finding out who teaches and who taught it in Los Angeles. I was living in Colorado at the time. There's not a ton of animation going on in ski towns. So when I moved back to California, that's where I'm from, and I just dove in, and I started really just following that path, because I never really had an interest in it on camera. It's fun, I enjoy it periodically, but it doesn't have the same passion for me, because with voiceover, you're not limited to your height or your weight or your eye color or your hair color or the sound of your voice necessarily. I mean, I think having diversity and versatility can be a huge thing. Whereas, if you do one thing really, really well, Nancy Cartwright, she's done other things, obviously, but my God, all you need is versatility. So, I stuck with it, and just it kind of snowballed from there. And it hasn't been hugely consistent, I would say. I mean, it's not been a constant rise. It's definitely an ebb and flow, but.
Yeah, I thought I was going to be a filmmaker when I was in high school, and then I just didn't follow through in high school to get the grades to get into film school. So yeah, I kind of puttered around after high school for a little bit, did some community college, and then took a 6-year-long semester off. And yeah.
Semesters are relative.
It was a really long semester.
Sabbatical.
Yes, exactly. And just dumb luck, my parents moved to Texas and said, hey, we've got this community college that has a radio TV program. And we found out Funimation is like 3 blocks away from that community college. And it just worked out really well to like, okay, bite the bullet, go move back in with the folks, go back to school. And yeah, worked my way in. I actually started at Funimation as an intern, and thinking I was going to be a recording engineer while I learned the craft of voice acting. Instead, by my second day, I knew I wanted to be a director, and I very quickly worked up to getting to that point. And I've been voice director full-time ever since.
That truly is the road to victory. I'm sure that's how all the great success stories start.
Stay in school, kids.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's going to be our last question for this particular junket panel. Chris, you have so you want to be a director tomorrow?
Yes, is that tomorrow? Yes.
That's tomorrow, I believe, at 11 a.m. So if anybody wants to check that out, and Rachel has the badasses of video games tomorrow at 5 p.m. So
And I'm not sure who else is in that, but it's going to be fun.
it sounds fun.
Yeah.
Just hearing your voice, and I know it's going to be fun. So
I might crash.
so
You can
please,
crash.
please give it up for Christopher Bevins.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.